Right, hello my darlings. Jump back on now. I've been shopping in my stash in my craft room, and put these to the side a minute. These are some of the lovelies I found. So I've had some napkins or serviettes, as they're called. Some tissue paper, a few pieces I've hoarded for a while, like that gold one. Found some airmail envelopes. Some stationery paper and envelopes, and just some secondhand scrapbook paper from my stash that sort of fits the aesthetic of Rachel's kit. So I just want to explain this next one a second. I've done two, so I'm still working out what to do with these pockets, and I need to start adding flips and tucks everywhere. Where's it gone? Where's it gone? There it is. Right. In my last tip video, I looked at how to deconstruct one of these photo album books. I've got quite a few. I find them in the charity shops, and how to deconstruct them. So I've taken this one, for example, and I've covered it with sewing pattern paper. I always get tongue-tied on that. Sewing pattern paper, and then gone back, inked, and sort of embellished it with a bit of gold gilding wax. And that's going to live there. And there's another one I did. There it is. There's another one I've done in gold. So I've sort of decided now on a name for this journal. She's going to be known as Penelope. And she likes gold. So it's going to have some gold eyelets, any gold metal embellishments. So let's do this third one together and snip the corners off. Now my corner punch was not happy at all with this last one. I think it's just because of the glue, like that one there. Got the sandpaper. Oh, that's going to peel off. It didn't want to go through the gunk on the edges. Around the corners. And there we go. And stick some sewing pattern paper on the top. So I found that one. And I want that sort of text. It says silver needles on the bottom. Now to adhere this, I'm going to use my glue sponge. I'm finding the more and more I'm using this, the more crisp my edges are. I always check the four corners when I open it up. And that's sort of telling me that it's still ready to go. Sorry for the rustling. I'm trying to get a wipe out for my fingers. There we go. I should have done that beforehand. Right. So, anything that's sort of small enough to fit in this little takeaway container is fair game. And I've been using the sponge to do the gluing. So I'm pressing it down into the sponge, especially pressing down on the corners. And give it a couple more for good measure. There we go. And flip that over. And as I've said before, you just get this glazing of glue on there. So slide this one down gently. And just keep smoothing it. Thank you to Steph over at Hilltop Journals, watching her use some of this pattern paper recently. And I've never really played with it much. It's a strange kind of paper. It's quite strong. It's quite strong paper to be as thin as it is. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied all of a sudden. So, there. That's lush. Right. And off camera now, I'm going to hit this with the hairdryer for just a couple of minutes to speed it up. So, be right back. Right, and back. Less than maybe 45 seconds with the hairdryer, and that is dry. So before it gets inked, I want to trim the pattern paper away. Now to do this, I used a knife and my little sander tool. So I know a lot of people do not like the sound of sanding, so I will either speed it up or cut it out. But all I'm doing is going along the edge and knocking it back, and it'll peel right off. So here we go. So the sander's away, and if you look, it just comes off crisp and clean. Happy days. So get that off, and if there are any bits, I can go back with the sander and sand them off. Like that bit there. Hold your ears. Yeah. No. Lovely. And get that circle out of the center. And I just used a little craft knife and went lightly around. You don't need a lot of pressure to score that thin paper. Round and round. Because I don't want to pull it off the front surface. So I've gone around light, and then I'll go back around in the other direction. In the opposite direction, ever so lightly, and there. Comes away clean then. Pop that away. And it's a little rough there. All right, hold your ears again if you don't like sanding. There we go. Lovely. Right, and inking. And this is Gathered Twigs. I know a lot of people like the vintage photo, and I don't have one. It's not one, it must be one that everybody loves, because I never see that one in the D-stashes or secondhand supplies that I've had. I've never encountered a vintage photo, so it must be one of those that everybody really does love. I'm gonna have to just break down and buy me one to try it. But this frayed burlap and the gathered twigs I quite like for this softer, grungy look. So I've had the card deconstructed, backed it with the pattern paper, did the edges, rounded edges, inked, and now I want to put a bit of bling on there. Where's my gold gone? Oh, it's up here. Hold on. Got my gold, and this is tarnished gold of the Cosmic Shimmer, I think is the brand name. So for this, I've got my Lavinia stamp, which I love. And instead of doing that corner and that corner, I think I'm going to do that one and that one. I don't really want to cover up that text. So just here, rub some of this polish through my stencil. And this polish dries quite quickly, so I want my stencil to get wiped straight away. And you get that, I don't want the wax to be on my stencil forevermore. I know I've seen a few YouTubers junk journalers, that keep trays of water nearby. You can put your stencil in there. stencils or stamps to keep them suspended until you're ready to clean them. But I want to use this straight away after. So that's a sort of effect that you get through the stamp. The wax does dry quite quickly, but I don't tend to put them in the book until they've sat overnight, because the wax can then stick to the surrounding pages if you don't leave it long enough. So I tend to leave the wax overnight before I start sticking them in the book, and I've never had a problem. The only time I've ever had a problem is when I've stuck them in there, you know, within the first hour or so, and you think, okay, well, it's gone everywhere then. Give that wax time to actually set. And a little bit more on here. And let's have a look. Lovely. No, I like that. Let's get it off the stencil. I really should look into getting some different stencils. I do love this one though. Right, it's one of those omnidirectional ones. It doesn't matter which way you go. So have a look again. See if I can get it to zoom in. So that effect is really lovely, I think. It's going to suit the aesthetic for this journal. Lots of gold and lots of soft grunge effects. So I'm going to set this off to dry, and I'll be back in a bit. Right, and I'm back, and completely winging it at this point. When I was going through my stash, I had lots of these scrapbook papers. A lot of these have come out of magazines, so they're not special. I've just chopped them down. Some of them have this kind of thing going on the back, which I'm never going to use. So I've just chopped these down. They were all A4. So I've chopped them down, and I'm going to have a go with these napkins that I pulled out. So the plan is I've never done it this way before, so I'm going to have a go. I've got 4 different sizes there, and I'm just going to open. I've already sort of de-plied these. I've pulled the extra ply sheets off. So that was that one from the front. Sort of a William Morris kind of pattern. And am I on camera? I do leave the state of the rest of my desk. But I'm just going to use my glue sponge and stick yes. I nearly did it the wrong way around. I don't want happy birthday showing through. I want that side. So, like I said, completely winging it now. I've never done it this way. I've used glue stick, just napkin before. And you still have that sort of brushed effect then if you just use glue stick. So I'm just going to cover the backs of my napkins. I'm not going to flip them over. I'm going to wait and see what happens. And I can always trim these down then. So the right side down. Over the top. Let's get a couple of different patterns and see how they show through. Grab one from the back here, that pink one. And yeah, I'll show you the napkins in a second and get this one done. And then my thinking is that I can then cut these down after the fact and continue to embellish them with all sorts and create some of my tags and tucks and things with them. Try different. Let's try the polka dotted one. And because the craft paper is just printer paper thickness and the napkin on top, I'm not creating a lot of thickness here by doing it this way. So if it needs to be a stronger tuck, I can always add an extra layer to the back. But if I continue to embellish the front with bits of lace and things, it should be thick enough to handle, or thin enough to handle extra thickness being added to it. Sorry, I can speak, honestly. I'm trying to think and do and talk at the same time, and not always succeeding. So, no, that's the plan anyhow. I'm going to put that one, let's have a look at this one now. There we go. No, that is stuck lovely and thin. So we'll see what the edges are like once they're dry and I get them trimmed off. Put that to the side a minute. And these are the napkins that I've pulled out of my stash to have a go. I'm not sure about that one. It's a bit bright, but it could be inked down. That one I like. It does have a bird on it. I'm not necessarily into my birds, but we'll see. That one is quite a big one with just wildflowers. That one I really like to go with this aesthetic. It's that sort of grey washed out with the pops of blue and white. And then I've got a butterfly one. Whether I try the butterfly one on this, I don't know, because if you open the butterfly out, it is that sort of in that 4 shape. I might actually put the butterfly to the side and try to stick that on something else to actually get the 4 separate butterflies. Yes, I'll put that one to the side. We'll do that one onto something different. Let's open this big one. There we go. And I'm just going to carry on gluing now and setting them to the side to dry, and I will be back to let you know how it goes. Bye for now. Right, hello, and I'm back. I've had all of these stuck down onto the napkins, so these all still need to get the edges tidied up, but it's fine. Those I have trimmed. I'll go through those in a moment, just to show you how easy it is to do. So that was stuck down with the glue sponge, and with serviettes or napkins of just using sandpaper. So warning now, if you don't like the sound of sandpaper, I'll do this one to show you how easy it is. So off that edge, and it just pulls away like butter, and you've got that nice clean edge. To go. There we go. And last one, last 2. Now you watch. I've done all of those off camera, come away like butter. Watch this one be difficult. It's like Murphy's Law, isn't it? Come away, and because I've used the glue sponge, I know I've got glue all the way up to that very edge. So yeah, I've had really good luck with that so far. I've only been using the glue sponge since January, so I'm quite impressed so far. So no, that go away, and because I haven't added extra PVA to the top, or extra glue to the top, this will take ink very nicely. Now, whether I trim those down to be scalloped, because the napkin itself was scalloped, so that's an example. So you can see that was the original paper, and ever so faint, you could see the polka dot relief underneath. But if that then goes in as a tuck, I would just curl around and trim that edge like that. But once that's sort of inked, embellished, stamped on, edged, that then would make a really nice corner pocket or tuck. So that's the idea. I'm going to go through the rest of these. Those need to get trimmed, and I'll show you these. Away. Got the mess here. So whether I use these as tucks, pockets, or cards, belly bands, side tucks. I know my camera is very far away and my lighting isn't brilliant, but that's the idea so far. Now, some of the tissue paper I had has gone down lovely, but you can't see the pattern underneath. Some of these you can, so that you can see the polka dots underneath of that old scrapbook paper. There's that William Morris, another one of those. That was the larger one that had the birthday on the back. And no, that was on a neutral background, and this one was on the polka dots. So no, that's the plan so far. Get these all trimmed, ready to go to play with. Finish those and continue building elements to start building up lots. I'm thinking now lots of pockets and layered pockets. I've got an example of the layered pockets in my Great Ugly idea book, but some layered pockets, and then I can do some sessions on just making tags and ephemera to fill the pockets. So that's it so far. I've got my vignette boards ready to go, and yeah, just carry on camera as my newfound YouTube experience and see how I go. I've stuck, yeah, that was the other vignette board. In these, I have stuck an extra printable. I'm thinking about doing tuxedo pockets to go on at least one of those. So whether I decide on the voids, whether I glue on one side or the other, I'm not sure yet. But I've got two stuck in there, and I did a mock-up of one as a tuxedo pocket with hidden journaling space. So watch this space. I'll be back. I don't know what I'm doing because I am winging it at this point, but quite excitedly so. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back soon. Ta-ta.